What's up, Headless Horde? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about episode 1 of season 2 of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Guys, don't forget, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and also don't forget, every single Sunday, I will be live breaking down that week's episode. All right, guys, so first off, let me state this, that in season 1, I like this season. I thought it built the lore. I got kind of drawn into what this new world is and how we're going to progress to both of the trilogies. So there's some negativity out there on the intrawebs about this series. And listen, if you're not a huge Lord of the Ring fan, I can understand that because it is a slower burn type show. Episode 1, I think they do a pretty good job of just kind of like recapturing what happened in season 1, and it does move the plot forward. With all that being said, let's get to the breakdown, and I'll give you my rating for the episode at the end of the video. All right, guys, so we open up with a flashback. Again, I loved it. I thought this was brilliant, the way it was structured. Again, for somebody who has not read the books, I really didn't know if this was a continuation of what we left off in the last season, or if this was something brand new. The episode begins in the past with an earlier version of Sauron being played by actor Jack Lowden. Here he is addressing the orcs and Adar. So Sauron basically is promising all of them power, but warns many will die in the attempt to conquer Middle-earth. So Adar has to make a choice here. So we see that Adar betrays Sauron during a crowning ceremony as he stabs him with the crown. I thought this was brilliant. He takes the crown like he's about to go, put it on his head. And here's the thing too, like Sauron, I think he knows he's like, he can't just be killed by like mortals basically. So he kind of lowers his head. I think in the back of his mind though, I think Sauron kind of knows what's about to happen. I kind of got that feeling watching this. But basically, he turns the crown and stabs him in the back of the neck. And then all the orcs come over and just start killing them with daggers. It's a pretty brutal scene. And it's funny because I think they film it in a way where you almost feel bad for this guy, right? He is getting destroyed. But as we know, he's not really going to die. They make the viewer kind of think he's dead. And then we see that he transforms into some kind of dark substance. It looked like a bunch of worms or I kind of had Venom vibes here, but I thought it was pretty cool. So then he disappears into this cave where he regains his strength, which I believe is over a lot of time. I don't know exactly if it was centuries or years, but it seemed like a long time had passed. And we kind of see him kind of get out, and he eats like a rat and he eats a bug. And then unfortunately for this old woman who's just kind of traveling down the road in this buggy and cart, we see that this big black thing gets run over because he ends up getting like frozen almost into the ground, and it kind of rolls up on the tire. I thought that was a little bit cheesy, but it worked for what we were trying to do here. And eventually, off screen, we see that he kills the old woman, and he basically adopts a new form that resembles her appearance. Even though it comes out to be looking like Halbrand, I think because he is a male character, he took her features and just kind of like made it into what a male would look like. So I kind of liked it. It was very interesting, the way this whole thing opened. So after Sauron takes on this new appearance of Halbrand, he runs into a group of human refugees from the Southlands. They are led by an older gentleman named Diarmid, and he is telling Halbrand that he can join them because Halbrand kind of tells him that he's like headed toward death. And so Diarmid tries to like teach him how to forgive. He's trying to say, listen, it doesn't matter what you've done in the past. It's your choice, and you can make the better decision each day. And then so he ends up going with them, and we see them on a ship. And however, Halbrand rejects the lesson and this actually leads to Diarmid's death during a sea serpent attack. Now, what's unclear is Halbrand responsible for the attack to begin with? But at the end of the attack, we do see Halbrand pull himself back onto the wreckage, and there's a few other survivors. Once he is up on the wreckage, it starts clicking in that we are actually seeing what happened before he met Galadriel, because now we see her swimming up toward the wreckage, just like we saw in season 1. Now, back in the present day, we open up with Galadriel chasing Elrond on horseback. Now, if you don't remember what happened at the very end of season 1, Elrond ends up finding the scroll that was supposed to state that Halbrand was actually a king of the Southlands. So he finds out that that is not true, and he is indeed Sauron. So Elrond's plan here is to take the rings to Gil-galad and convince him that he wants them to be destroyed because he fears that they are corrupted. So Elrond takes the rings and escapes by diving off a waterfall. This was absolutely crazy scene here. You know, again, elves, if they do die, they do have an opportunity to come back. So I think it was just in his mind, it was worth the risk. And Elrond eventually finds a refuge with Círdan, who lives in the Grey Havens, and he is one of the oldest and most wisest elves. We then flash back to Mordor, and we see Halbrand now in the new form, and he now confronts Adar, who doesn't recognize him. Remember, last time he saw him, he was in elf form. Halbrand then tells him that Galadriel is forging a new weapon with an ancient sorcerer, implying Sauron's involvement. So he's trying to get into the good graces of Adar, probably to try to wipe him out. We then head over to the Stranger and Nori. They are struggling in the desert. At the end of season 1, Nori decides to leave her clan and go with the Stranger to find Rhûn. And the reason why they're going there is really just because he had a dream of a constellation, and this is supposed to be where he will be able to find answers out on his identity, including his name. Rhûn is known as the Eastlands, and it is a large region to the far eastern part of Middle-earth. And eventually what happens here is it is a home and kingdom of the Easterlings in the Second and Third Ages. Eventually what happens, they will band together and fight against Sauron. Back in Lindon, Gil-galad has a huge dilemma. He finally learns that Halbrand's true identity and the potential threat posed by the rings. He is then conflicted about this because he ultimately agrees that they are completely necessary. So he decides to lead a search party for Elrond to try to get these rings back. We then get a little backstory on Adar's character. So it was revealed that he was once blessed by Morgoth with power and actually had a connection with Sauron. He reluctantly agrees to let Halbrand act as a spy, but you could tell he is very, very suspicious of Halbrand, and, you know, he should be. In the final part of the episode, we get to see Elrond. He has a conversation with Círdan, explaining what these rings are, and Círdan actually attempts to dispose of the rings, but he's actually interrupted, and this leads to a tense moment where the rings of power and purposes are actually questioned. Now, again, here in this scene, we are not sure, is this some type of magical force that allows these rings to like just magically not go into the water? It's kind of a funny looking scene because it's something, he obviously hits something on this ship or this boat that allows the rings to kind of come back in and fall, and then he is very intrigued by them. And then later on, after Elrond is retaken by Galadriel and Gil-galad, because they do end up finding them, and this is why Círdan goes off and tries to dispose of them, because originally Elrond was going to do this, but because they arrived at Círdan's home, Círdan ended up trying to do it himself. So then we are back at Lindon, and we see that the elves are mourning, and they think that the race is in serious trouble, and they're actually preparing to leave Middle-earth altogether. Círdan arrives, he has the rings, sparking hope as the golden tree in Lindon is revived. And the way that this all happened was really interesting because Círdan has the ring on his finger, and then Gil-galad takes the other two. One falls down on the stairs, and basically Galadriel picks it up. Elrond does not want her to put this thing on, but she does. Gil-galad does. They kind of put their hands in the middle circle there, and boom. Amazing, amazing special effects to see this tree regrow, and they know now that these rings have some power to save the elves. So we shall see what happens moving forward with that plot line, but it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. Finally, at the very, very end, we see Celebrimbor, and he's in his forge. They are now trying to forge more rings, and all of a sudden, who arrives? But Halbrand. Remember, he was sent by Adar. He seeks to speak with Celebrimbor, and he does not let him in right away. And remember, this is important, Celebrimbor still does not know that Halbrand is Sauron in disguise. Overall, guys, I thought it was a great episode. I enjoyed it. I rewound a bunch of different parts because I wanted to rewatch some stuff. There's a lot more information than what I'm doing in this video, because if I kept talking, we would be here all day. Don't forget, I am live every Sunday breaking down the previous week's episode. So next Sunday, 7:45 p.m. Eastern, we'll be breaking down episodes 3 and 4. And then after that, it will be one episode per week. Guys, let me know down in the comments. What did you think about this episode? I personally am giving this 4 out of 5 Gandalf.
You shall not pass! You shall not pass! You shall not pass! You shall not pass!
Thank you very much for watching this video. I will see you guys in the next one. And like always, don't forget, keep those heads high.